They've run out of ideas. Their moment came and went. Fear and division is all they've got left. With all their attack ads, the president is just throwing away money. And he's pretty experienced at that. We have suffered no shortage of words in the White House. What is missing is leadership in the White House.
Hey, if you're impartial on this thing, Ryan's speech, I think from the ones we heard, was well regarded, and I think rightfully so. He gave the red meat here for the Republican base that they'd been waiting for. They thought Christie would deliver it, and he did to a degree, but certainly not with, let's say, the generosity of acknowledgement of the nominee that we saw from Paul Ryan for his running mate. But in the hours that have passed since he delivered that speech, and frankly even during it, more and more people have been asking, what about the more and more errors that were in the speech? And after some fact-checking, it turns out that suspicions were warranted. Yesterday, in an unrelated conversation, a Romney pollster said, quote, "We are not going to let our campaign be dictated by fact-checkers." Think about that. Indeed, Ryan certainly didn't let facts get in the way of a good speech. I want you to take a look now at some, not all, but just some of the most egregious falsehoods.
My home state voted for President Obama. When he talked about change, many people liked the sound of it, especially in Janesville, where we were about to lose a major factory. Right there at that plant, candidate Obama said, "I believe that if our government is there to support you, this plant will be here for another 100 years." That's what he said in 2008. Well, as it turned out, that plant didn't last another year.
Sounds like a pretty compelling point, right? Except Obama never made such a promise, and the plant, it was actually shut down in December of 2008 before Obama even took office. Ryan also blamed Obama for the country's credit downgrade in August 2011.
A presidency that began with such anticipation now comes to such a disappointing close. It began with a perfect AAA credit rating for the United States. It ends with a downgraded America.
Except the downgrade was a direct result of the GOP's threat to allow the government to default on its debt. Standard & Poor's explicitly blamed Republicans, citing their refusal to accept any tax increases as part of a larger deal. Ryan also blamed Obama for, quote, "doing nothing with the recommendations from the Simpson-Bowles Debt Commission."
He created a new bipartisan debt commission. They came back with an urgent report. He thanked them, sent them on their way, and then did exactly nothing.
Sounds like a legitimate gripe, right? And in part it is, calling the president out for failing to act on a plan for putting the nation's fiscal house in order. But those in glass houses should not throw stones. Ryan voted against that urgent report himself, and he was a key figure in killing the commission outright. And it also should be noted the president didn't exactly do nothing. The White House released a debt plan of their own last September. Ryan also attacked the stimulus, making it appear as though most of the money was lost to corruption.
The stimulus was a case of political patronage, corporate welfare, and cronyism at their worst.
However, the truth is more complicated. Less than $10 million has been lost to fraud. That's about 0.001 of 1% of the stimulus. Experts had originally warned that about 5% of the stimulus could be lost to fraud. Paul Ryan, he also accused President Obama of threatening Medicare.
Even with all the hidden taxes to pay for the healthcare takeover, even with the new law and new taxes on nearly 1 million small businesses, the planners in Washington still didn't have enough money. They needed more. They needed hundreds of billions more. So they just took it all away from Medicare. $716 billion funneled out of Medicare by President Obama. The greatest threat to Medicare is Obamacare, and we're going to stop it.
Now, it's true that Obama has cut that spending from Medicare, and those Medicare savings, they are used to pay for the health care law. However, Those savings, they came from targeted cuts in payments to the providers, not in benefits to seniors. In fact, it's Ryan who plans to cut and voucherize Medicare. And finally, Ryan closed with a call to protect the poor.
And the greatest of all responsibilities is that of the strong to protect the weak. The truest measure of any society is how it treats those who cannot defend or care for themselves.
That's certainly a good soundbite, but take a look for yourself at the Ryan budget. Most of the spending cuts in it target programs that benefit directly the poor while calling for tax cuts for high-income earners. All right. Tom, for me, all politicians twist stuff, but this thing...
Scary.
I mean, you don't... It's not distorting the truth. It's throwing it out the window.
Scary, Richard.
Does it come back to haunt him?
No. You know why? Because Democrats will point out that he stretched the truth. They will say he lied. Republicans will counter that it's partisan politics and negative campaigning. Americans will go, I don't know who to believe. But let's remember, Ryan's budget would totally devastate social programs. That's number one.
We'll hear that in Charlotte. But I would just tell you, from doing this as a living like you and I do, I haven't heard too many speeches with as many cameras that just said, to heck with the truth and let's see if it comes back to bite me.
But he looks good. But he looks good
doing it.
And that's what sells to America.
All right, we're going to judge a quick break. When we come back, we will go back to Tampa. We're going to hear from the GOP about what they want to hear from the man of the hour. What should Mitt Romney say tonight? We'll also get to your reaction. Stay with us.